Hi everybody, hola, and welcome to another round of the Wachuma sessions with myself, your host, Davyd Farrell, and my co-host and brother from another mother, Sergey Baranov. Hey bro, how's it going? What's up?
Hey, David. Thank you for having me back. Always good here.
Good. So it's been a little while since we did our last episode. It's been a pretty crazy few weeks, I think, for everybody. And so we want to jump into today's topic, which is how to deal with the madness of the world without going crazy or insane yourself, right? So I think Sergey's got a few hints and tips for us all based on his work with the wonderful Wachuma cactus, sometimes called San Pedro. And where do you want to start, Sergey? How are we going to get into this?
Well, how about we start from reality?
Okay. What is reality?
What's happening in the world?
Uh-huh.
Let's start from reality, from 3D reality, from actual,
Sure.
from the world we can see, because it's kind of hard to talk about the world we cannot see if we can't even realize what we can see. You know what I mean? We need to start from something more graspable. So it's the world we actually can see and can touch. And that's the 3D reality we're living in. That includes economic situation, political situation. What's happening in the world right now. It's like this is what I say, being realistic. You have to be realistic. It's like you have to be following reality, what is actually happening. I don't dwell in wishful thinking, and I'm not a resident of Andromeda galaxy, man. I'm living right here on the planet Earth, and I see what's happening here, and I see where it's all going. And there is a lot of problems we're facing as a world. So I think that's a good point. This is a good starting point.
So, obviously, as medicine men, we do work in the world of the unphysical or the unseen quite a bit. And, I've talked a lot in recent podcasts and interviews about how this reality, the third dimensional soup reality, is the end result of other dimensions, the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension. But until we get into that space, let's come back to the 3D, because we are now moving into a period where the astrology of the next 2 months shows very clearly that we are going to go through a tumultuous period where a lot of maybe the truths that we've been told are our reality in 3D. So what happens, Sergey, when we have a paradigm shattering moment and the truth of our reality that we've been living suddenly is exposed to be something that we didn't realize it was before? How do we stay centered? How do we stay calm without losing the plot? Because I think that's going to be a big piece over the next couple of months for a lot of people.
Yeah, and next couple of years too. Just starting. That's what I see. Well, that's an important subject, and that's exactly the subject of my latest book, Dancing in Hell with Eyes Wide Open, right here.
Sounds about right. Title for now, I think.
Exactly. And maybe we can talk about the book later at the end of.
Sure. Yeah, of course, bro. We'll do that.
Explain a few things. That's exactly the point. It's like, how do you stay sane in the crazy world? So it's actually a subject of two my latest books, The Cactus of Sanity, which is right here, just to show you. The Cactus of Sanity, Wachuma in the time of crisis, chaos. Yeah, it's like this is what I've been seeing in ceremonies for years. I mean, that thing is going back 13 years. So maybe I can give a little bit kind of a background if that's appropriate. So before actually, getting to the answer. So it was very strange when I just moved to Peru in 2009. It was one of the first few ceremonies I led. And I took people to the mountains higher up. And I remember we were just sitting there, and there was a beautiful eagle flying, and I was trying to make my first videos with some crappy camera, and I don't know from where the thoughts even came to my mind. It's completely out of context. And I'm sitting there looking at the beautiful snow peaks and just the eagle flying, just purely connected to the whole universe in that moment. And I have thoughts about nuclear war, you know, and the thoughts coming, actual sentence coming, if in case of nuclear war, we will be safe here. And I'm like, what? Like, who is talking? You know, it makes no sense. It's completely out of, you know. And I just started there, and I'm kind of like, you know, I pushed it away. It's like, it's like, what is this? You know, it's like, I'm here in this paradise, you know, and then so a few years later in the ceremony, this thing came again, and I start seeing vision of future, and it's just like a deep stuff, you know, a destruction of humanity, and it's like more of the same kind of thing, you know. And then in 2014, I wrote an article, posted on Graham Hancock website. It's called "Stop Nuclear War Ahead." Okay, 2014, 8 years ago, from nowhere. Interestingly enough, I was not even following the politics then. It's like I didn't know what's happening in the world. Nothing. I was disconnected. Interestingly enough, that was the year when Western powers have removed democratically elected government in Ukraine. You know, that's
of course, yeah, the Maidan revolution, or the coup, right? The Maidan
and
coup.
exactly, and they put a pro-Western dude there, you know, and kind of that was the whole plot starting back then to attack Russia, you know.
Right.
But that's like, it just shows you how things are, you know, synchronized, you know. And I didn't know nothing about this. I just look back and like, man, this is 2014. This is 2014 too. It's like the same, like around the same months or something. I wrote an article. So, so, and then just more vision came later, and I thought like, okay, maybe I'm just crazy, you know. Maybe I'm just all right. Maybe I just have to accept that I'm a crazy guy, you know. But it's just like, yeah, because it's just too much, it's too invasive, you know. The visions of the future is coming at you. And then the COVID stuff, same thing. I saw the whole thing, wrote an article. You can check the timestamp and see that article was published 3 weeks before we heard about COVID. So there, you know, it was a ceremony I did January 1st, 2020. And it was heavy, and I have seen the whole sky getting, you know, filled with lead and iron, and it's like, man, what is happening in the world, you know? And then, you know, 3 weeks later, boom, COVID in China. So that was the trigger, because I didn't see the COVID, I just saw the chaos, the big changes in the world, but I didn't see what will cause it. So, you know, it's hard when you have all these visions. It's hard not to talk about this. It's like I feel some kind of a responsibility to people, you know, to other fellow human beings, to share that, and kind of with a warning, and to help people prepare to what's coming. So that resulted in writing a few books, you know. Last 3 actually were kind of moving towards the direction, and that's the message I wanted to convey. It's actually that answer your question. It's how to stay sane in the crazy world, because the world is going nuts. And what we have seen during COVID, that would look minor in comparison when we reach, when you know, economic collapse coming. I'm not even talking about nuclear war. If that happens, I mean, it's all over. But I'm talking about if by some miracle we'll get to the peace talks and we can avoid the total destruction, we still will have a lot of problems, you know, in economical sense.
For sure, bro. You know, and like you, also working with the medicines, particularly with the sacred fungi, I had many visions in the run up to the 2020 piece, lots of interesting, strange things that gave a much more astral perspective on what was really going on. And I guess one of my difficulties in 2020 was trying to share what I'd seen with friends, colleagues, people around me who didn't really want to hear, because somehow the situation sounded too scary, or it's not something I don't want to hear about. That I don't want to know. But on the piece about nuclear war, this is something that I've checked in quite a bit on with my own crew, working with the plant medicine. And what I can see categorically is that there isn't going to be a nuclear war. It's not going to be allowed to go to that place from what I have understood and seen myself, the planet actually is in some kind of military quarantine at the moment. We can't see it from here on the planet, but around the planet there are a lot of well, I don't know what they would be really, but intergalactic spaceships or something. I understand that there is no way now that bad forces can get into the planetary system. And one of the ways that I've observed this, interestingly, is that ordinarily I would find a lot of extraterrestrial beings in people's fields when I'm doing clearings, and I haven't seen any extraterrestrials for about 6 months. I mean, there are lots of other things, but the typical little ETs that I would find, the insectoid beings, maybe even the odd grey or something in people's fields, I haven't seen any of those for a long time. So I don't think we're going to get to a nuclear war peace, thank God, but I do think we might go to a place where we get a collective scare about that or something. So I think it's interesting, and it's like, I think this is where we have to stay in our heart centers, right, and be able to observe the reality that's being presented to us without necessarily having to buy into it or even believe it. So what do you think about that, Brian?
I think that's the way forward. It's like, being realistic, being aware, but not to give into fear and not to cancel your life because of what might happen. Like, I don't live like that. I make my plans. I'm full of ideas for futures, and at the same time, I understand that there might not be future. It's kind of living in between two worlds. It's like, or living in two worlds. In the world of everything, it's fine, and nothing, it's fine. And you have to live, like, at least I do, for myself. I live in a world that is fine, realizing that nothing is fine. It's like, it's like I make my plans, I build my stuff, I write new books. It's like, but I'm not naive. I understand that everything can happen in the moment, everything can change in the moment. So, but I'm not willing to give into fear. I'm not living in fear. I think fear, it's a poison. It's actual spiritual venom that is paralyzing you. The moment you let it in, that's it. You are infected. That's what happened during the COVID, and people still like running around crazy. I mean, Peru just got just lifted mask mandate like a week ago. Think about this, just now, and I walk around and I still see people, double mask. I mean, come on, guys, like, it's so cool. Take this chin diaper out, and just breathe like a human being. Take it off. And people still walking with it. It's like, that's how deep the brainwash has been done to people, So fear is your enemy, and your head is the battlefield. That's where the war is. The war, it's not on the street. The war, it's not in the political arena. This is all like like a decoration. The real war on you happens in your head. That's where it is. So if you realize that, then you understand that the battlefield is right here, and you put all your force into it, and you learn how to detach from the world, how to detach from the fear, how not let the fear to come in and paralyze your will to live. That's the actual spiritual work that we're doing here and helping people, because people come with that problem, So that's like that's like answering your question, how to stay sane and connected. So for me, it's a very specific. I'm speaking about plant medicine in every book. That is the only question. That is the only answer I have. Maybe there are other answers, and that's wonderful. For me, what works, it's a plant medicine, particularly huachuma. I drink the medicine, I connect to the mountains, I feel the strength of the mountains, I feel the strength of the Mother Earth. I feel like unshakable within myself. It's like, I'm not afraid of future. I live my life, as I said, like everything is fine, like everything is happening on Mars or something, So plant medicine, nature, and your relationship, what got, love and medicine is what got us through the COVID madness. That's it. Love to my family, from my family, and medicine and nature. That's how we stay insane. So my answers are very direct and very to the point. Drink medicine, whatever is your medicine, whatever you have. Mushrooms is good, or any medicine, but do it right. Do it with intention to connect and find your strength, find your center, and just kind of kill the fear within yourself. It's a parasite. It's just mind parasite. You just kill it through powerful psychedelic experience. You can just kill the fear. It just dissolves in you.
You know, so one of the things that we've been talking about quite a bit, Sergey, on some of my other podcasts and shows is, first of all, the use of conscious language, but also how do we start to describe things that we might understand more from a shamanic medicine man perspective? And one of them is the idea of the personal terrain, the inner terrain and the energy field terrain. And so what I see and believe, because this is how I work, is that if I keep my inner terrain nice and clean and clear and fresh and centered, my outer terrain, the life around me by default, will mirror how is my inner terrain. So if we can get the inner terrain by working with plant medicines, whether it's wachuma or sacred fungi, or, you know, many of the other immersions, we've been doing these plant diet immersions online with many people all over the world, working with plants like dandelion or the artemisias, or we're going to be working with the elder tree. You know, all of these plants, even though they're not necessarily psychedelic in and of themselves, they are incredibly powerful, transformational allies who can help us shift. And I concur 100% with you. There may well be other ways to get your inner terrain clean and clear and calm and without fear. But for me, it's always plant medicine and many, many different plants. There are many different plant beings who want to step in and help. And for sure, not everybody in Europe or other parts of the world is going to have access to the wachuma cactus. But that doesn't mean that we can't start doing the work on the inner plane and making our inner terrain nice and clear. Because if the inner terrain, for example, is filled with fear and anxiety, then it's going to be also in the world around us. We're going to be absorbing all of that fear and anxiety. So the trick, first of all, is, I think, to make the space for yourself, right? Like you have up in the mountains of Peru, or I have here in the mountains of Michoacan in Mexico. You know, we've created that space in nature for ourselves to be more calm, more at ease, not stressed, not dealing with horrible frequencies in the city. And so I would suggest the first step is to get calm in yourself and create the space in your life so that if you do have other inner issues, then you've got space to start dealing with them without being stressed by the craziness of what's going on around you.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You know, use what you have. Really, if it's going to the park and hugging a tree for an hour, that works too. You know what I mean? It's just like use, you know, anything works. It's like it doesn't have to be a powerful psychedelic. It can just be a walk in nature daily or in a park. When you just, the idea is to kind of disconnect from the city frequency, because that's where you get, you know, that's what you get polluted. The moment you leave the city, things change for you. You can feel that. You just go camping somewhere in the woods and it's the whole new world there. Like you're no longer in America. You're no longer in UK. You're no longer in Germany. You are on the Mother Earth. You're in nature. All the things just kind of, the whole matrix, just you leave it behind. You don't feel that. And it's like the whole stress energy and fear. It's like, it's surrounding cities.
Yes.
You know, it's like that's how it works. It's like it generates there. It's like it's a stress generators, you know. So you move that and then you feel free. Even during the COVID with high COVID season, it was the same thing. In the cities, man, everybody is going nuts. You just step out and everything is cool. Everything is tranquilo, you know, everything is relaxed. And you're like, man, what is COVID? Like, where is it?
Does it even exist, right? If it's not like, in your reality, is it even there?
It's not here. It's like, it's somewhere there. They're talking about something that isn't here. It's the same thing. Is the fear. Is the fear that just kind of like a fog come and just kind of engulfs the city. That's why I'm saying nature, Mother Nature is the key healer, is the healer. The plants are her children that can take you deeper, but the nature itself is the healer. It's just where you go and find peace. And when you find peace, your fear gone. You just feel at ease with yourself, with the world, and you just laugh at all this. And it's kind of sad. It's a sad, it's a laughing through tears kind of thing, because what we have to go through and completely unnecessary. It's all planned and all designed, you know. It's not just happening. But it's laughable because you see the stupidity, the lies, the deception. It's just like, it's like, okay, you know, that's the world we're living. But you know what? The world is going to hell, but I'm not.
Right.
I refuse to go to hell. You know what I mean?
Right.
The world is going to chaos. I refuse. My life is in order. My family, it's cool. We're healthy. We're happy. We love each other. We have medicine. We grow food. I love nature. Like our inner terrain, as you said, or we can say like our inner house is in order.
Yes.
Even though my desk is pretty messy here, you know what I mean? But my inner house is in order. It's like I'm centered. I'm aligned with
Right.
myself, with my purpose,
Yes.
and with the whole universe through this. So I have no
Yes.
fear. Like, of course, I don't want destruction. I love life. I love the world. I love the people, and I want my children to enjoy life, and your children, and their children, you know. But I'm not afraid. You see, it's like I'm living. That's why I'm planning. That's why I make plans for next year when you know, next year might be very interesting.
Well, for sure, right? And I just want to reflect a couple of things there. Like, so simple activities like just taking off your shoes and socks and putting your feet on the bare earth is a really good way to connect straight into that Gaia energy. And there are many plants and trees, and one of the things that I often try to share with people is just let nature talk to you. There are often, I get emails from people all the time saying, hey, I was out walking and suddenly this plant started really catching my attention, and I went home and checked out what it was, and it turns out it's this plant. It's like, do you think this is something calling to me? I'm like, of course, nature is always calling to us. And if this is one of the things we learned during the dandelion immersion. So dandelion is a plant that really brings us into our heart space, works very well actually in synergy with Wachuma, because it keeps us very centered. And what dandelion does is he shows us the only thing that truly exists is the present moment. And if we're very present in the present moment, we can see a lot more of the terrain around us and how to navigate our way through the terrain, working with the medicine of Wachuma in both of our cases, but working with this very divine, powerful being that manifests as dandelion. Powerful plant medicine, can do lots of work for the liver and detoxing. But as a spiritual being, his biggest gift is to show us how big the present moment can be by being in it.
It's infinite. The present
It's infinite,
moment,
right?
it's all there is, and the more intense, the higher the intensity of it, the farther it stretches. Of Wachuma, the present moment is all that is, all there is. It's like it's forever. It's like that's how you understand the power of now. I mean, the power of now, man. You need to drink medicine to understand the power of now. You know what I mean? It's not just like you sit there and it's like you drink Wachuma and you understand the now, you feel it. It's embodied knowledge. It's experiential. It's no longer a concept. You are in the now. The now, that it's not just this moment that stagnates. Nothing stagnates in the now. It's all moving. It's kind of a misconception. The now is kind of a picture. I'm in the now, so everything should stop, and like the river should stop, the birds should stop. It's like, no, the now it's a movement. It's a universal movement that is a whole thing just moving and living, and but that is the now. It's hard to explain in words, but I can make you feel that when we drink medicine together. So yes, from that perspective, everything is fine, and you find incredibly deep peace and serenity that is so powerful that you just like, okay, I am in the now already. I have already reached a destination. There is no farther than this point. So when you understand that this is like it's such a powerful insight, it's it changes everything, the way you see things.
It does.
It just removes all the fears. It's like, of course, it's important to fight for freedom and truth and peace. This is our purpose here. That's why I think I was born this time, and not before, not later, if there is later. It's to do the right thing and to stand up and speak against evil. That's just what it is. That's just, I feel it deep in my heart. I can't I cannot not do it. That's just my calling, one of them. But that doesn't mean that I live in fear.
Right.
I live in acceptance, man. If nukes are coming, it's the end of the world, man. That would be very sad. Very sad. It's just so stupid, so but I live in acceptance. It's like whatever.
Right. That's the word.
I'm connected, you know. It's like it's even hard to explain in words the feeling of confidence. Like I live it with confidence, but not confidence in the future. It's a confidence in my relation. It's a confidence in my connection to the universe through this moment, you know.
It's a kind of an inner knowing, I would say, Sergey. You know,
The
I know
inner
exactly
knowing,
what
yeah,
you're describing.
yeah.
It's like, you know, in another way we can say that's the non-dual perspective. When we get to that non-dual place and we're able to observe the third dimension, this physical reality, but also able to observe our emotional space, the fourth dimension, the astral plane. And then we can see from that non-dual place how we get manipulated and triggered into these emotional responses. But if we can bypass that sort of triggering by clearing our inner terrain, then we end up in the space that me and you're in, which is one where we have an inner knowing. And sure, I don't want the world to end in a nuclear war either, but I'm also in a place of acceptance. If it does, well, that's obviously what was meant to happen this time round. But as an eternal being and having that confidence of knowing I'm an eternal being, I'm just like, well, okay, maybe that was my lesson for this time round. I'll come back next time and we'll see what happens then. I don't want it to go that way. I have, like you, many plans, visions for the future, working with nature, working with plants, working with other like-minded people. And I believe that that is my calling also, to help people break down their fears the same way that you do in your medicine ceremonies, so that people can come to that place of inner knowing, inner empowerment, so that they can then start to create. This is what I wanted to say. You know, this is an interesting question. Is the world happening to me, or am I creating my reality? Which way are you going in your world? Are you just responding to lots of impulses, narratives that are coming at you? Or are you going, you know what, I'm going to create my own reality and observe this other crazy reality going on around me by taking affirmative action like you have?
Yeah, well, I think, sorry, I think is the second one. It's like I'm creating my own reality here. I'm creating my own life within the world. I'm leading I'm the author of my life to a certain degree, of course. You know, it's like there is still destiny and big forces and planets, and you know, but to a certain extent, you can influence your life. When you're conscious enough, you can influence your life. So I'm definitely I'm responding to the world. Yes, it's like I see what the world is, what it's going, and I'm responding to it in my own way. I'm not responding with fear. I'm responding with conscious action that I think would be the best way for us to move through. I'm, as a father, I have a responsibility for my family, for my two little children. They look at me, they don't know about anything. They just trust. They wake up in the morning happy, and they trust that, you know, I will take care of them. So this is my motivation. This is my strength. You know, it's like, okay, I'm here for them, you know, and they're small, and I need to move through what's coming, which could be a 10 years thing, you know. So I need to be healthy, strong, wise enough to lead the best way, you know, and take action that will help us to survive through whatever is coming. You know, so I create my world within the world.
So here's a good example. I think maybe just to maybe put this into a more 3D, you know, context. So we can see now in the world that if we are paying a little attention to the news, we can see that the narrative around fiat currency is about to end, that the currencies that we've been living with in the world, particularly the pound at the moment, is going through a big piece. And I'm sure that the euro and the dollar are not far behind. And so, you know, those things are beyond the control of me and you and other people in this life. But what I would like to suggest is that if we're aware of these incoming experiences that are going to happen to the collective, we can start to prepare ourselves by taking direct action. Simple actions, for example, would be, well, if we're going to lose currency, how am I going to buy food? Well, if I know that that's going to happen, I stock the cupboard with the rices, the lentils, all of these things, or maybe I get some chickens and, you know, I'm able to look after myself, because I can't stop what's going to happen in the world to that extent. But what I can do is change my terrain so that I'm prepared to deal with it. And also that way, if something really bad does happen, where maybe I lose all of my earnings or savings, it's not the end of the world, because the world is still going on. There's still birds in the trees. I still have food in the cupboard. I'm still with my family, all of these things. And I think what we're being asked at a spiritual level right now is to really bring things back to that simple level. Who am I? If all of my stuff is taken away from me, who am I when I stand on my own 2 feet, in my center, in my integrity, without all of the trappings of the modern world? Who am I? Do I even know who I am myself?
Well, that's I think many people will have to go through
Mhm.
this pretty, it's pretty scary realization when things are
Yeah.
taken away from you, like
Yeah.
your job, your money, your social security, your pension fund, your basically your future. Then what's left? It's like a fundamental question. That's what a shamanic experience teaches you in
Right.
its core, because it strips you naked.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just like, here you are without anything. Even it strips you of your ego. It strips you of anything. It's just purely you. And that is the realization of who you truly are, So if you have those experiences in life, so when everything will be stripped away, you will feel like, okay, I know who am I. I know myself. Is that consciousness that connects to everything else, So it's like, if you don't have that experience and your identity, it's in your job, in your house, and whatever, then you will have a really hard time, and people will go nuts. I mean,
Right.
people will go absolutely crazy. It's like people will lose their minds. Literally, suicide rate will go probably through the roof. I mean, it will be very sad environment to see how people become helpless just for losing their pension fund or their job. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why I'm saying, go to plant medicine, shamanic experience that can teach you what does it feel, how does it feel when you're stripped naked while you
Right.
have everything. So you can come back to it, it's like, and begin to appreciate actually what you have. But if that's taken away, then you're still okay, you're still a soul, you're still a consciousness that is still that still has have a breathing body, and so I think that's what's ahead, and that's what the warnings are about. It's like, get prepared on many levels. Of course, I'm getting prepared on the physical level too. I'm stockpiling food. I'm building chicken coop. Actually, as we speak right now, from the window, I see the guys working there. Like, I'm getting, like, I'm not naive. I'm taking actions. I want to have my food, starting my garden. Like, we're here to survive. I'm not going down with the ship, man. This is not where I was born this time around. You know what I mean? It's like, I will take care of my family, whatever, at any cost, at the cost of my life, if that's needed. That's it. Period. That's end of debate. I do what has to be done. But that's like on a 3D level. You need food, you need water, you need everything. Infrastructure. So be wise. You just need to be wise. It's not a time to be stupid. It's like, many people have to understand that. This is over, guys. It's time to open your mind, to open your eyes to reality and do what you have to do, So, but in the same way, the preparedness goes deeper and goes on the spiritual level.
Of course.
It's what we already talked about. And of course, if you have the opportunity to work with shamanic plants, then of course it just gives you an advantage. A huge head start,
For sure. I mean, as we're saying this, I'm thinking, for so many people, their sense of self, their sense of identity is tied into their wealth, their house, their job, all of these things. And, when we learn, as I think many people are going to soon, and this is something I didn't know, actually, I wanted to share, that the physical aspect of paper money never actually belongs to you. It always belongs to the bank. So it's only ever on loan to you anyway. And of course, if that paper money is not backed up by some real thing like gold, as Western currencies were not, the reality is that this thing that you've been saving and hoarding and paying interest on isn't anything real in the first place. It never was. It's just a concept that you've bought into. And so when that concept then suddenly is revealed and the illusion of what it is revealed, if you've imbued too much of your sense of self into your wealth, for example, who are you without your wealth? I mean, I went through this process when I came to Mexico, Sergey. I had to spend several months alone in the middle of nowhere on a ranch, just sat with myself, just with a few bags. Everything had gone away from me. Everything in my life had gone away from me. And I had to sit without any resources, without any money, without anything, just a few bags with some clothes. And I meditated all winter on who I was without all of those things. And it was painful in a few places, but I'd already been doing many years of work. And I had to come to a realization of who I was without anything else, just me walking the world with my resources, my mobile phone, my wallet, and my keys. And that's it. And it was a humbling experience to be stripped down. But then once I got stripped down to my core, I remembered who I was, who I'd always been. And so I was able to build back from that place and start calling in the things in my life that I wanted to start manifesting as a consequence. 8 months later, most of them have come true. It's incredible. But I had to go through that process of being stripped of whatever last remnants of my old life were there, so that I could start to build again and remember who I truly am. And I think that this is the big journey that all humans go on, but especially right now.
And will go. I mean, this is the journey that has been now, before we were choosing the journey, spiritual seekers, looking for psychedelic experiences, and then shamanic path, but it was a choice that we have chosen that many years ago. For many people, it just will be like no choice. It's just what is, and it's kind of involuntary, so it will be very hard. But that probably that's their spiritual evolution. It's their journey. It's like, for us it's different. I have chosen that before, like I'm talking decades ago, when nobody speak about anything, when everything is good, but talking about the 3D thing, it's like that's exactly why we need crypto. That's why I got into crypto like a year ago, started to study. It's like I understood that the paper money, it's a fraud. It can be frozen, taken. That's why you need crypto. Holding your keys, nobody can take it from you, and that's how you continue to do business with people, peer to peer, without the intermediate, without the banking cartel, without the governing body, without anyone who can take it from you and tell you you can't do this or you can't do this. Especially now the plan is to roll this CBDC, central bank digital currency, which is like Orwellian system on steroid. I mean, when that rolls out, that's it. They will programmable money. They will know what you can buy, what you can. I mean, they tell you what you can buy and cannot buy. I mean, this is it. I mean, this is like total nightmare, financial, digital nightmare. So that's why we need crypto to go around this and to continue living without being told what to do, because you don't take a fifth job, no food for you, so this is one example.
I think this is really important what you're sharing, bro, because this is the nature of the two realities, again, very strongly starting to separate. And we've been given a lot of choices. I know you're not so much into the astrology as me, but we just had a Libra equinox, and Libra is very much about choice. And it was followed by a Libra new moon, which is a new moon is always an opportunity to make a prayer or an intention to give to spirit. And then if it's a good one, by the full moon a couple of weeks later, often they've come true. And so I see that we've just gone through a period, energetically speaking, from the universe, where we were asked to make a choice. And for sure, we can see that in Britain, there's a very strong likelihood of a snap general election, maybe with Mr. Starmer sweeping to power because he's the only alternative. And for sure, he's very much about this centralized banking digital currency. And so I can see that in a moment of panic where maybe everything is taken away, when somebody steps in and says, hey, here's the solution, do you want it? People are going to go, yeah, because they're going to panic because they're in a place of fear, rather than do the sensible thing, which is like, hold on a second, let me just take a pause here, take a pulse on who you are, what you're offering me. Do I want to be a part of this? Actually, no, I don't want to be part of some Orwellian crypto, a currency that's every time you use it, you're being tracked and monitored. We know already, Sergey, right, that's been going on forever through all of the online websites that we buy. But we're talking about a next level kind of almost, how would you describe it? Yeah, dystopian future, right?
Yeah, exactly. Dystopian future. So while it's still possible, educate yourself, learn about this, watch YouTube videos, talk to people who understand things, and kind of find alternative ways to survive, because that's that's the way forward. That's what I write in the last book. I'm kind of guiding to that direction. Is like you need to have financial ability to do business, to do commerce, and you need to have an ability to feed yourself. These two things are very important. This is how you survive. This is how you can be self-sustainable, like outside of the matrix. I have my food, I have my way to do business. I don't need you. I don't need all your restrictions. Like I can just overcome them easily. I'm not enslaved.
Right. And you also, if you have transferable skills like healing skills, or you have like here we have an orchard where we have food, we have avocado. If everything completely falls apart, and even the quantum financial system and crypto doesn't work, because that's also very debatable right now, how is that going to work? At least if I have avocados and bananas and like these food products, then I can feed myself, and I've got something to trade with too, right?
Exactly.
So this is simple, smart steps we can all do somehow, right?
We might go back to the barter system. I give you chicken,
for a little while, maybe
a potato, for some time until things will be kind of reset. So that's why we're doing this. We're looking into the honey production, something that people want, people need. So it's like important. Yes, there is no money, no crypto. Okay, here's the chicken for you. Give me some potatoes. We survive. Until things, because nothing is forever. You see. Even the worst collapse is like the worst depression in America in the 30s was like a few years. In the Russia, in the Soviet Union, it was a few years. It's like nothing is forever. When things crash, it's going to be rough, for a year, 2 years. But then, cycle. It's all cycles. It's like it's never stays like that. Of course, nuclear war, that's the end. But anything less than nuclear war will be rebuilt, will grow. The cycle, snow melts, grass comes through, sun, it's like it's a cycle of life. So you just need to have enough to go through the hard time. It's not forever. It's not like you stockpile for, it's just like for a year to 3 years, like a year, 1, 2, 3 years. That's where the problem maybe, but then things coming back. So it's a point. What's important is to survive the hardship. Just to briefly mention, I remember when Soviet Union collapsed. I was a kid then, and it was horrible. I mean, like imagine you were saving money to buy a car like for 20 or 30 years. That's how it was there. It's not like you go to America, in America, just get a loan. That doesn't work like that. You save, man, for 30 years, and then a president comes in the morning on TV and says, we are in default. Sorry. And then you lose all your money. Like 30 years of savings just become nothing. You can buy shoes. Yesterday you could buy a car. Today you can't buy shoes. So people were putting that on the walls as a decoration, going to bathroom, wiping their butts with it, like literally with the money you work for years. I mean, this is like scary stuff, man. That's all your pension, all your future gone overnight. You just wake up in the morning poor. You can't buy food for your kids. I mean, serious stuff. And there is no food too. So it happened. It happened in Zimbabwe. It's like a history full of that. I mean, America is next, probably. I mean, they're trying to tackle the inflation with raising interest rate, which will bring into total depression. I mean, it's like the situation there is like, it's like, do you want to be eaten by a tiger or by a wolf? I mean, that's it. I mean, that's it. It's really higher inflation. Okay, that's a tiger or wolf. Oh, okay, depression, pretty bad. I mean, that's the choices, So it's like, don't be naive. It's better to look forward and prepare for the worst. And if the worst didn't happen, well, then you eat your rice. It's not going bad. I mean, you have the infrastructure to use. But if things go bad, then you and your family survive. It's just like a logical, common sense thing. You don't need to be enlightened for that. It's just like, wake up and see what's happening. I mean, I don't even talk about like deep conspiracy stuff. I mean, that's like that's hard for many people to understand. But just look around. Just look at your prices. You go to the market. You go, at the gas pump. I mean, see what's happening.
Yeah,
I mean, it's happening.
So I
So,
guess what we're trying to say here, bro, is, that the spiritual journey often is quite simple in many ways. We can make it simple. And I guess what we're trying to share today is that if the world starts to crumble around us, or if we wake up like you did at some point in your life, and many other people from Zimbabwe or Venezuela or any of these other countries that maybe have had this experience happen to them, then they've managed to survive. They didn't all suddenly die. The world didn't end. They maybe had a few years of some hardship, and maybe the reasons why all of that happened to them is a talk for another time. But for sure, we can see that in the world, there is a need for a rebalancing anyway of the inequalities of different nations. And so I can see that we are going through a bit of a balancing of the scales. But if we wake up and find that our currency has defaulted because there's nothing backing it and it's actually literally worthless, what do we do? Well, if we've got food and maybe we've only got rice and avocados and bits and pieces, we're still feeding ourselves. We still have a roof over our heads.
yeah.
But if we didn't make those preparations by being in the present moment and observing what is going on in the world around us, then we might suddenly find that we don't have any food in the fridge. We didn't make any preparations. And then we're going to be totally in the place of panic and fear, which is when it's much more easy to be manipulated into something that maybe you don't want, right?
Oh, for sure you don't want. I mean, it's almost like that. That's how they use the fear and desperation to sell you something you don't want to buy. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And,
So,
it's like when we go to the hardship, that's important to mention too. I've been through a lot of hardship in my life, and it's in my first book, kind of briefly. And it's like, thanks to those hardships, I am a person today that I am. And if I had the opportunity to change anything in my past, I wouldn't change anything. Maybe the only thing I would change is like to become a less trouble maker for my parents and bring them less pain. It's like that's it. It's like, but everything else that happened made me. It's like it's for my character. It's built me up. Today I'm the person thanks to this hardship. So hardship, it's not like I'm looking forward to hardship. I had enough in my life. It's not fun, it's not nice.
right.
But if you learn how to go through this with dignity, you become a better person. You become wiser, stronger, just a better human being. So you don't need to be afraid of it. I mean, it's like both. It's like both are true. Prepare for the worst and be smart, but also don't be afraid and kind of have enough dignity to live through whatever. You know what I mean? And grow through this. This is our spiritual journey to learn. It's not only when things are easy. I mean, life is both. Life can be rough. So we are immigrants. I'm triple immigrants. I know how it is. So the most learning actually it's through the hardships. But the problem is like that. You don't want to lose your mind. That's the problem. You don't want to give into fear, panic, and kind of have a psychotic breakdown. That's where you lose yourself into it. So this is where you need to find the strength and dignity to go through and just sit with it, sit with the world, like you
I
sit
couldn't
with the
agree
medicine,
more. It's nice to be in the place of bliss and happiness and joy, but we don't necessarily learn so much in that space. And of course, you would know this very well, as do I. Is that that on the spiritual path, particularly on the shamanic path or the medicine path, we get confronted with hardship as a way of showing us who we truly are. How do we show up for ourselves in moments of hardship, right?
Exactly. How do you show up? That's exactly the question. When things start to crumble, how are you going to run around like crazy and losing yourself, or are you just going to maintain your cool and do what you have to do and provide shelter to those who can't? Because it's not just about you anymore. I have a family. I am their muscles. I have to provide calm and peace and comfort, security for them, even if I go crazy inside.
Right.
So it's like you're an umbrella for many people. It's like there is a responsibility for you to help others, whoever's your family, your friends, people who come see you. You are their
the beacon.
You are their you're their strength that they can use until they find their own. I mean, that's how we do in ceremonies. Like people come do ceremony with us. It's like I am the guide, I'm the light until they find their own light. So I'm here to to help them find their own light, their own guidance, their own inner guru, so they can walk through life with confidence.
Well, we can see from the last couple of years that when people give in to fear and panic, often it's been given to them. I mean, up in the mountains of Peru, or even in the mountains of Wales where I lived before, it's like if I didn't turn on my phone, if I didn't go into town, and if I didn't look at my laptop, I would never have known that anything was going on. Right? It literally wasn't part of the reality that I was living in. And I guess up in the mountains of Peru, if you are somewhat, self-sufficient and didn't have the technology, you could have gone through this last 2.5 years and not known about anything and never been subjected to the fear and panic that was being offered to us. The choice was, do we accept the fear and panic, or do we go, that's not my reality. You can live in that reality over there, buddy, if you want. I don't fancy the look of it, to be honest, but hey, knock yourself out. If that's your reality, go for it. But for me, I don't want to be in a reality of fear and panic that somebody's trying to give to me. Right.
Exactly. That's a very important question. It's a question of choice. Do you have a choice? Yes, you do. That's what you actually understand in a profound shamanic experience, that you have a choice how to live moment to moment, how to live your life moment to moment. And the moment to moment struggle is really between love and fear. It's really, you can have both. If you are full of love, there is no place for fear, man. It's just, you're full of everything. But absence of love creates fear. It's kind of, it like seeps in, and then, but love is also connection. It's also, joy. It's like, it's many things, so it's like, that's what the medicine can help you with. It can create that space within yourself where you can choose, what do you want to feel it with? It's a container. It's like, okay, fill it up with what you want. Here is love, here is fear, here is joy, here is sadness and desperation. And it's like, it's up to you. Make your life what you want it to be. That's the power. That's the magic that you find while working with sacred plants.
I totally agree. And that's the journey that I've been on, the same as you, brother, is, to come into that space of living moment by moment, holding a container for, whatever work we're doing with our centers or our plant, but at the same time being very present and, being in that moment to moment space and making the choice to fill my space with love, to fill it with high vibration ideas or high vibration plants, or to surround myself with high vibration friends who make me feel good about myself, and so I can reflect that back to them so that they feel good about themselves. And so we create this mechanism where we're always shining our light onto other people so that they get illuminated and so that they feel good and they want to do the same thing. So we start to live in this reciprocating society where we want the best for everybody, for ourselves. I want the best for myself. And once I have accepted that I want that and start to live my life from that place, then it's easier for me to be able to shine my light onto other people and help them feel good about themselves. And so it goes. This is how I see the transition from the fear-based reality that we've been offered and in many cases accepted, to a more love-based reality where it's like, no, I'm in charge. I get to decide how is my inner terrain, and as a consequence, I get to decide how is my outer terrain.
Exactly. That's why you have to say no to fear, because that's your ticket to hell.
Right. So we have a little game we play here with hashtags sometimes, and we've come up with a few recently. Hashtag forced evolution is one that we have been working with, and I like this one. Hashtag say no to fear.
I think it's best. That's the medicine. That is actual medicine for every person living on the planet right now. You do that, you change your life right now.
Hashtag say yes to plant medicine, bro. I think that's the one that we're going to be right behind.
That's a very good one too. I mean, they both are very true, and actually one lead to another. You say yes to plant medicine, which that means you say no to fear.
Yeah, right. This is duality. There's two sides to every coin, right? So, well, look, as we wind our way to the end of today's show, I want just to ask you a couple of questions, Sergey. First of all, please do show off your T-shirt, bro. We've been admiring it. Yeah.
Okay. That's I don't know if you can see that like that. Okay.
Okay, very nice, bro. So it says www.wachumawasi.com, I think.
That's our logo and the T-shirt,
Nice. And I know that you've been receiving emails and questions from people about your books and about which order to read them in. Because obviously, there's a journey that you've taken yourself, and the books are, I guess, a reflection of that, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's true. It's like, I mean, I have 4 books, and first book, I can just show you all here, just to make it clear, because it's a bit confusing. So this is the first book, Path. This is basically my life. My bio it's just how Ukrainian guy end up in Peruvian Andes serving Wachuma medicine. It's like a life in Ukraine, in Israel, in America, and then finally Peru. Life in cold. It's just seeking meaning and truth in life. So that just was my expression. I feel like I need to express that and to help people to, especially people who were in the cold, because that's a big part of that too. And I wanted to help them to, liberate themselves from brainwashing, mind control, operations, which are cults, and different gurus, self-made kind of self-proclaimed prophets, So that's there. The second book I wrote in 2018, that's a mescaline confession, breaking through the walls of delusion. That's a very specific book on what human mescaline, and kind of it has a scientific research and shamanic approach, and it's like it's a specific about what human. If you want to learn more about it, which actually this book ends with a warning. 2018. 1 year before COVID. Last paragraph just kind of, makes you...
It was because of that book, brother, that I reached out to you, because I read it in, I think, 2018 or 2019, and I was already aware of what was going on. So that was how we originally got connected back then.
Okay. And then I got the Cactus of Sanity, which is a kind of a sequel of the Mescaline Confession, and that's the book I wrote during the lockdown in Peru.
Right.
Well, they lock everything down, and I'm like, okay, I have to do something here, So microdosing and writing a book, just to do some, just to use it to my advantage, to use this madness to my advantage.
Right.
I can work, I can do anything, I can be productive. Well, I write another book and publish and bring people to the medicine, So that's exactly what I did.
That's a really good point, bro. Just to interject there slightly, is that when we have these opportunities, rather than do like I think a lot of people do, which was just sit in front of the goggle box, drink beer all day, and did that for like months and months. Another choice is to say, well, hey, I've been given this time to sit and be, and maybe productive. Not be so busy and be productive and write a book, right? There's always a choice in every moment to take affirmative action or be a couch potato.
Exactly. That's what I did. You're transforming. That's an alchemy. It's like you're transforming negative into positive.
Right. Transformational. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then that's the latest one, which I published like 2 months ago in August. So I didn't even want to write this because it's hard. This is hard book, man. It's like this is hard book because it just tells you the truth. What is happening in the world, who's behind everything, where are we going. It's just like 2 years of research. I mean, it's more, but I just put together everything in one book for people to find things, like with 225 links to support the the notion that the material that I write for you. This is not conspiracy theories. This is all conspiracy facts. Everything factual. People saying that. I mean, you just read this, you wake up, guys. I mean, it's a hard book to read for people who've been jabbed and and all that stuff, because it's a lot of it here and truth about this, and it's like, I understand that, but it's better the hard truth and stop harming yourself than you remain ignorant to this and die. I mean, that's just how it is, and that's a part of it. It's not just all about this, but it's just it's like a conversion of politics with spirituality. I think it's a very important book and very timely, and I suggest people read this one. Like this is like most urgent book. The rest are pretty good books, and people really have a good feedbacks. And I have many people who just read 2 chapters of Cactus of Sanity and booked their flights to Peru, from Australia. I mean, that's just how it is, because it's just truth. You know, truth has power.
Well, I know, brother, that you you have a life mission to share and to break the illusions. I totally respect that. That's why we reached out and connected in the first place. And I would definitely recommend reading all of the books. I haven't read all of them myself, but I've read several of them, and they are very good. And they helped confirm to me that there are other people in the world with a similar mindset to me. Not everybody's done the years of research that the brother here has done, or that I've done, or quite a few people have done, but it's never too late to wake up. I think that's the important point, is break the illusory spells that are in our world around us, that are being projected at us. Take affirmative action, find out who you are, make preparations. Don't be afraid. I often say, I have this vision I have in my head sometimes of the world that we live in. It's like, kind of like there's a little kid in a room and he can see the shadow of this scary monster and it's huge on the wall and he's transfixed by that and he doesn't know what to do. But if he just turned around, he'd actually see that the shadow has been cast by a small cat.
Well,
so
it's a Wizard of Oz right there. That's the whole story of Wizard of Oz. When you understand that, the whole thing just collapses in a good way. The fear matrix crushes the moment you understand that the man behind the curtain is a little scared man, and you're much more powerful than that. The thing changed for you. You lose your fear. You become powerful because that's who you are. You are a powerful being, but you've been projected so much fear by such big images that it's a mind control manipulation. It's a fraud, a psychological deception, make you look small and helpless. And that's who you are, if that's what you believe.
If that's what you accept, right?
That's what you accept, that's who you are.
So as conclusion to today's wonderful chat, we've covered a lot of interesting ground today, brother, and hopefully our audience is able to get the bigger motifs of what we're saying. Because if we are in a vibration of fear, then it's easy to manipulate us, and we end up doing things that we don't want to do, and we get into doing terrible things. And I have complete compassion for all beings on this planet, and I hope that all beings who've chosen that particular kind of path get the release that they need from their karmic experiences. Me, myself, and I choose to live in a place of love and high vibration, with good food, with nice people, and to not pay too much attention to the bad frequencies that are being projected, but to be aware of how they might affect my 3D world around me, so that I don't get caught out and suddenly go, oh my God, I didn't know this was going to happen. Now I don't even have any baked beans to eat tomorrow, right? That's not being clever. That's not being prepared. So if we can just open our eyes to what is going on, then we can make sure that we are not affected by it, and we just keep making choices so that our reality is a nice, even one that's filled with the good stuff, right, bro?
Yep, exactly. It's just like staying stable in the middle of the hurricane. When trees are flying around, you just walk your path. It's like, okay, there's hurricane around, I see that, but I'm not whirling with it.
Right, exactly.
I make my walk. I know where I'm walking. I know where I'm going, and I feel connection with the earth.
So if our audience out there feel like they want to connect more deeply with the earth in Peru and with Huachuma Medicine Pro, where can they find out more about your retreats?
The best place is my website. It's huachumawasi.com. Or I have another domain to make it easy for people. It's just better spelling. It's sanpedromagic.com.
Okay, I like that one too.
Huachumawasi.com, San Pedro Magic. That's it. It's both of them bringing to the site, and the site has everything in it. Just look me up. Watch interviews, read some books. Read the material, like get a feeling into it, and get in touch. And come to Peru, drink medicine in a good way, in a safe way, with beautiful people, in a beautiful environment, and expand your understanding, find healing.
Have an adventure too, right? I would suggest to everybody, rather than say, hey, that's something I really feel like I might want to do, but I'll probably wait until spring next year. I would suggest take direct action. Feel into your heart. Hey, you know what? I need to change my life. I need to journey. I need to travel. I need to go to the mountains of Peru. I need to drink an amazing cactus juice. Meet the brother Baranov down there. Whatever, man. This is a time to really expand out, right? And not be afraid. Say, you know what? I'm taking affirmative action. I'm going to make my life something different. And I would suggest that going down to Peru, meeting
Yes.
the brother with the cactus medicine is a great way to do that. There are many others
Yes.
too, but there's one right
Yes.
there.
And and what you describe now is the act of magic. It's one of the act of magic. That's how you change things. You act against all odds, which means you do things that sounds kind of it's not what you would normally do considering the situation. You need to be afraid, you need to save money. It's like, no, that's exactly what you do. It's like you do against that, you go against that. It's like, oh, no, that's what I do. That's what, it's like that's how you change things. It's alchemy. Yeah, you change things. If you don't go with the flow, you go against the flow and you change things for yourself.
I agree. And, for those of the audience listening to this piece today, of course, you can hear more about how to go with the flow, work with the energies if you're into astrology. And there are many other shows on my YouTube channel where you can tap into that. But for today, I want to thank the brother down in Peru. Hashtag we love cactus magic for sure.
That's good.
We're going to make a business out of this one. I think
we can do
start a revolution.
hashtag San Pedro Magic.
.com,
refer people to my website in that way. That's how it works.
Cool. So for those people who do want to check out Sergey's site, they'll be in the show notes, and me and the brother will be back, I guess, probably sometime next month to have a cast around the world and see how do we feel through the magic of the Wachuma medicine in our heart space. So thank you, brother. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you all again very soon. Ciao for now.
Thanks for having me.